So hello everyone, we are back from break and we'll start with the approaches. Now it's very important to know the approaches or principles. What could be the reasons why we are talking about environmental ethics? So we always start with anthropocentrism. What is this? Anthropocentrism. So when it comes to this approach says that human beings are most important beings. So all the other beings are accessories to our development and they just assist us with our survival. Now, when these approaches started developing, there were two further divisions. So there's a weak anthropocentrism, there's a strong anthropocentrism. So weak anthropocentrism believes that human beings are at center because it is only through their perspective that environmental situations can be interpreted. But strong anthropocentrism believes that human beings are at the center because they rightfully deserve their situation or position there. Now, with this germinated what is called non anthropocentrism, which is the comparatively recent approach. So, as opposed to anthropocentrism, non anthropocentrism is a principle which gives value to every object, every animal in nature, or every existence of life in nature. So, this is a principle which believes in everything that sustains itself in nature, and it believes it's in importance or its existence in a particular place. Then there is something called psychocentrism. So, psychocentrism is a principle that believes that human beings hold more value in the environment since their mental capacities are better developed and far more complex than any other element in the environment. So, because of the mental and psychological capacities, we have more value. Then there is biocentrism. So, this is a term which holds not only an ecological but also political value. So, it is a philosophy which says that all living beings are important. So, there should be proper balance of ecology in the planet. So, which makes it very distinct approach or principle. Then there is holism. Holism says that environmental systems as a whole, rather than you need to consider environment as a whole and not in individual parts. So, if you're talking like this, then all the systems which are existent are valuable. And it's all about the entire web which exists. And one web would have many kind of individuals and their interlinkages. Then there is resourcism. So the principle of resourcism says that the nature is considered to be valuable only because it has resources to provide with. So you can exploit nature, and how exactly you exploit it to what extent is what you talk in resources. Then there is speciesism. So this is a principle which justifies the superiority of human race, and it to some extent justifies the exploitation and maltreatment of animals by humankind in various ways. Then there is moral considerability. What is this moral considerability? Now, this is an important environmental ethic. It adds intrinsic value to every being, every living being. but then it should consider it to be moral. So there has to be a moral consideration when we agree on a particular interaction of nature, and everything should be bound by moral norms. Then instrumental value. The instrumental value is a value which is imparted to a being as long as it can serve us as a resource. So if it is a resource to us, then it has instrumental value. Then there is intrinsic value. So intrinsic value is the value which is attached to a being just because of what it is, and not only for its resourcefulness to us as per our understanding. Then aesthetic value. So this is the value which you attach to a particular thing because of its look or its beauty. Then there is one animal liberation or animal rights movement. So they try to secure animal life and secure their welfare by enforcing certain laws. After this, we have general animal welfare movement, which says that you need to treat animals properly. You need to behave in a humane manner. So these are different approaches or principles. Some of them are old and some of them are comparatively modern. Then we come to the objectives. Now, what are the possible objectives of environmental ethics? So basically, it is to understand the concept of basic and non-basic rights, moral, deontological, and theological ethical perspectives. So you need to understand the basic interplay of various rights to be able to understand the things. Then to understand the impact of different cultural value systems on the relationship with human beings and environment. So if you get back to old cultures, say for example, you would see that they revere environment. Say for example, the tribal cultures, or in religion also, there are certain places which are no entry zones. So you say that you need not step in this particular mountain or other things. Why? Because they have religious significance. So the cultural value system has been evolved in a manner in which it would protect environment. Then to objectively analyze environmental problems and compare it with different contrast of worldview prevailing in Western views of environment. Now this would be a comparison sort of thing between different views and different handlings of environmental problems. Then develop informed objective perspective and judgment on environmental issues. So you need to handle all the environmental issues in a very, very objective manner. Why? Because one can affect another. Say, for example, when it comes to the coffee plantations which are there in Coorg Valley or other places, you would see that the way we handle these plantations, they have affected the existence of many species of fishes which would otherwise be there in the places where this water which is used in these coffee plantation flows. So it has affected life system of the valleys. Now how exactly you handle this? So you need to have objective pers- uh, and you need to have objectivity in your perspectives for handling such environmental issues. Then distinguish and apply the concept of economic, instrumental, intrinsic and inherent values as applied to ethical judgment relating to environment. So you need to have different perspectives. Say for example, economy. You should be able to understand the economic relevance of any act which is taken uh, to be able to preserve environment or to or to which extent you are affecting the environment. Then comprehend the connections and interrelatedness amongst all beings, human and non-human, life and the globe upon which they dwell. Now there's a web in the environmental system. There's a there could be a food chain, there could be a food web. There are different webs of interlinkages which are present in the system. So if you affect one species, you would be disturbing the entire food web or existence web. So we need to be very careful about handling of a particular species. So if, for example, you don't handle it properly and food for a particular species gets scarce, then there would be effect on that particular species, and you would see reduction in population of that particular species, howsoever important it is. Or if a sort of balance which is there in nature is affected, why? Because you handle or you handle the things in such a manner that the next species in the food web is less, so suddenly population of a particular species would increase, and then when it increases it would need more resources, so there would be a total imbalance. So all this has to be realized, understood. Then distinguish between and apply concepts of anthropocentrism, speciesism, biocentrism, and holism towards the solution of environmental issues. See, these are different concepts. So, say for example, biocentrism and holism is more friendly to all the species, but then you need to come up with a balance, because ultimately we also um, need to look forward to existence of human race and development of human race. So how exactly do you come up with this balance? So anthropocentrism and speciesism one place, and biocentrism and holism in one place. We need to come up with a balance. Then only we will be able to develop human race properly. Then there are other objectives. Say, for example, to understand the difference between objective and subjective realities and the magnitude and nature of their impact. Now, there are certain realities. We need to understand the impact on nature. Say, for example, of late research is coming up that when it comes to Coca-Cola factories, in whichever place you have Coca-Cola factories, there is reduction of groundwater. Then what to do? We need to come up with a balance. If the human race needs Coca-Cola so much, then how do you balance the issue of groundwater? Because to come up with 1 liter of Coca-Cola, you need a lot of water, and there is destruction of groundwater because you keep taking out water for it. So water table falls. Now you need to think of this issue objectively, yes, but what are the subjective realities? In the sense, what are preferences? Now, some people cannot survive without Coca Cola, but then groundwater is equally an asset. I mean, some people cannot survive without Coca Cola, but all of us cannot survive without drinking water. So, groundwater is also important. So, there could be conflicting issues. So, you need to understand them when it comes to subjective realities. Then develop original and sustaining attitude and guidelines which enhance a healthy global future. Now we need to come up with different theories of environmental balance and where exactly we need to put responsibilities, because ultimately if environment is so important for our right to life, then we are threatening our right to life itself. Now, we have different issues which can be considered here. Say, for example, when there was first lockdown, we realized that suddenly the air was so pure. Suddenly the water was so pure. So when researches were done, they realized that the water of Ganges is far better than earlier, far transparent than earlier, and it is more drinkable than earlier. Then the air was so pure that you were at many places people were able to see the mountains, the snow-clad mountains, which are at distance, which was not possible earlier. So there are many in our generation who could not have thought that you can see snow-clad mountains from places in Punjab or places in UP, because we were so used to of living in unhealthy environment. Now you need to come up with original and sustaining attitude to be able to preserve this. So how do we preserve these resources? How do we preserve the water which we have? Because now that our generation has seen what pure water means in rivers, what is flow of pure water in rivers, what is seeing a very clean Ganges, or what is seeing snow-clad mountains while you are there in UP, Uttar Pradesh. So this beauty is something which we have seen now. So now we need to come up with some original solutions and sustaining attitude towards these things. Now, next to be read is read and comprehend academic and professional literature on the subject of environment ethics and philosophy. Now, if we want to come up with solutions, we need to come up with original approaches. We need to first understand what work has already been done, and that is what you understand when you read a lot of academic and professional literature. And you should be first able to understand that, comprehend them, and then you would be able to find out gaps which are existent. Once you are able to locate the gaps which are existent, then only you will be able to think of original solutions. So that is the reason why this is very important. Then articulate responsibilities to human regarding global posterity. Now, somewhere now we need to get very clear regarding responsibilities of different set of human beings. So, for example, how much waste can we generate, or how should we treat our waste? So, uh, for example, is it justified to simply throw kitchen waste, or we should make sure that we are able to come up with proper usage of at least kitchen waste? So how exactly do we need to manage waste? Once we talk about this, then you would be talking about responsibilities of each one and everyone. Because if we want to utilize kitchen waste properly, or then we'll have to develop a culture, a common shared culture of what needs to be done when it comes to the kitchen waste. So that is how we need to articulate our responsibility. How do we handle kitchen waste? How do we handle rainwater? So this must become responsibility of each one and everyone. Now with this we would take a break, and then we would talk about environmental ethics and philosophy.